Alright, in this video I'm going to show you how to do an exercise that I call a half arm wheel. If you're familiar with the wushu exercises, you've probably already seen an arm wheel. I basically just taken out the speed component and extracted some things that are useful, either making an appropriate exercise progression for the arm wheel, or just isolating some muscle imbalances and improving your overall coordination. So what we're going to do for this is start off with the hands open nice and big, armpits open, spine nice and straight, long and comfortable, whatever is most comfortable for you. And then what we're going to do is I'm going to lift my left hand and position it over my right foot. I want to make sure that it's as high as possible. That way all of the muscles around my core are going to stabilize and protect it. If I'm a little bit short, if I'm leaning forward, my back muscles are going to be working no matter which way I need to make a balance correction. The same thing, if I'm leaning back, these are always going to work regardless of which way you make a balance correction. If you get right in the middle and open up the armpit, lengthen the fingers upwards, spot yourself with the rear toe, go as high as you can. If you wobble in any direction, you're going to start to feel all of the muscles start to engage and bind to the core to keep you in that position. From here, what you want to do is slide the rear foot back like it's like a matchstick being lit, and squat into your right leg, lowering yourself down. So I'm going to show some other modifications for this. If leg strength isn't what you're exactly looking for, or if you have any particular knee issues, what I'm going to do from this point here is squat through the right leg again, bring myself back up. If you make any balance corrections that have you put weight on this foot, that's going to be your end range of motion. Again, any rear weight on that foot, it's going to be your end range of motion. Squat through the front leg, bring yourself back up. Okay. Opening high in the middle, and then transitioning to the other side. Again, coming up nice and tall. That way you don't have to worry about overextending on your way down. Keep all of these muscles engaged. Keep this as your neutral alignment, and then squat off the other leg. Use the rear foot for balance. If the rear foot gets caught, end range of motion. Other things, you don't want to lower your hands below the horizontal. You want to reach into it. You're going to get a subtle twist. Feel like you'll be able to keep going. You should be able to challenge your balance before strength becomes an issue. So that's why coming back up off of this leg is not going to be a problem. You're being very deliberate with your range of motion, staying in whatever you have the most control over in both directions. So one thing that you can do as a focal point to help you target the waist muscles and eliminate any muscle imbalances or minimize them is that I'm going to over-exaggerate the arching in this position, bringing the waist forward so that I intentionally feel the abdominal muscles engage. From this position here, I'm going to have that tension migrate fluidly across the waist. So if it gets stuck in any way, it means the intensity that you started with is too strong to be carried across the other muscles. You want to minimize the intensity and the leverage you have placed on those muscles so that you can continue the transitions to whatever range of motion you're looking for. So from here again, I engage the ab muscles, I put some leverage, the back bend slightly to put them on tension, and now I want that tension to migrate across to the obliques, and keeping the armpit open as high as I can. I feel the tension migrate to the obliques. From here, when I start leaning forward, I'm going to feel that tension. I want to position myself so that tension migrates across the back. It's going to engage the low back muscles, and then if you apply a subtle twist at the end range of motion, you're going to feel it migrate across the back to the other side, and possibly even to the obliques. If you have good range of motion, you'll probably be able, or better range of motion than I do, you'll probably be able to get a sense for where this is going and maybe push it further, engage other muscles. But hopefully this helps. From here, what you're going to do is come back up, and have that tension migrate back in the other direction. So from here, can't see, but I feel the obliques working on the rear side away from the camera. And then as I twist back, I'm going to feel it work its way across my back. So around the midline, back to the obliques. I want to make sure that that tension stays consistent, at a consistent level of intensity, across the abdomen. And then when I go to the other side, I want it to migrate smoothly to the obliques on the other side, across the back. If you have any twisting movement, it's going to start to go across the midline to the obliques and back muscles on the other side. At this point, I would usually recommend looking behind you and turning both palms upward. It's going to help facilitate a little bit of that twisting and rotation across the waist. And then return back to the other position. Again, the main thing you want to do is avoid overextending with this movement. Always lengthen through the fingertips. Keep the armpits open. Keep this neck and spine nice and long. And again, there's going to be a lot of different things going on through this movement. You're engaging your whole body. So the challenge is really going to be just staying on top of that the longer you practice it. One thing I'm going to cover now is the legs. If you don't feel like building leg strength, again, have any knee issues, or it's not your thing, what you can do is also work on your balance. So when I go to reach overhead, I'm going to be very deliberate about the weight shift. I don't want to bend the knee on this leg. I want to roll off my rear foot. Be very deliberate rolling onto the toe, so that when I do that, I curl the toes behind me. I'll feel the calf muscles engaged. Straighten the leg to reach even further. I want to get full reach out of this leg, full extension before I lift it off the ground, because you're not going to be able to make the corrections as easily once it's up. So I'm going to grow off this leg as my other hand positions over the standing leg. And then once I get full reach and a comfortable orientation of the spine, I'm going to pivot on my other hip. When the rear toe comes up, the front hand is going to match that like a seesaw. Keep the reach through the legs. Keep extending through the fingertips. If you feel any stretch, treat that as your end range of motion. And then again, when the toes lower to the ground, the hands will come up. You don't want to keep the hands in its position. Again, same thing. You don't want to bring the hands up and let the foot drop early. What I do from this position is keep extension through both. Let all of the movement come through the work and pivoting on the standing leg until you're able to control lowering that rear foot. Lower the toe and very deliberately bring the weight over to that foot without compromising the length you just reached. So you may have to do a little bit of wiggling now with this other foot to position yourself back over it. And then you're going to open up, lengthen the leg on the other side, full extension before this toe comes off the ground. If you have trouble and you don't quite feel that you have the stability you need, take an extra breath in. That expansion of the rib cage, extra oxygen, might help you engage a few new muscles. And then again, when your weight is solid over the standing leg, feel those back calves, hamstrings working, keep the muscles engaged around the kneecap, and then pivot yourself on the standing leg. This rear hand is being still, mostly for balance. Again, I'm not reaching below the horizontal with this hand. I'm extending if I am able to level off, possibly looking to the rear hand and turning the palms up. Otherwise, when I lower this toe, I want my hand to come up exactly. And I'm going to do that by not focusing on them. I'm going to do that by controlling the standing leg and pivoting on it to bring myself back up. Until that toe touches the ground. Bring yourself over very deliberately. And then back to the middle position. Okay, so I hope this helps. I'll post a few more videos later.